This video interview is an expansion on Bernard's video interview that he did called Parents and Siblings Are the Keepers of the Past. So this video interview is in reference to that video interview. I suggest, if you have not yet listened to the video interview of Bernard called Parents and Siblings Are the Keepers of the Past, to have a listen to that video interview before continuing listening here, because I'll be referring to that particular specific video interview within this interview. Okay, for those of you who have listened to it already, the basis of the interview is outlining how family members or friends accumulate memories of and as past mistakes as an arsenal to use against you within and as manipulation attacks in an attempt to keep you within the limited self-definition they experience you to be, to so keep personalities alive. So the whole manifested design of using memories to manipulate one with in an attempt to keep you within their world, within a particular existent personality, because or so that the family member can thus again relate their own personalities to your personalities, and so keep you ensnared and enslaved into and as their definition of you in relation to how they've personified you within and as their own knowledge and information database of their mind consciousness system. So basically the play out manifestation of the whole point is to manipulate you to be how they want you to be, for purposes of the survival of their own personality of their mind consciousness system. So within this video interview, we're going to look at the whole entity possession that manifests within such an accepted and allowed point of attempted and tried manipulation, wherein a being then actually become possessed by their own memories. And this whole point is also due to the inversion of process, where the being think or believe that they're manipulating you through memories to keep you within a personality as they defined you to be within their own mind consciousness system, when in fact they actually within that very action become manipulated by their own memories within themselves, and so become possessed by their own memories, and so become completely stuck within and as an energetic entity of an as memory. So let's have a look at the specifics of how this manifests within and as beings that attempt and try to manipulate with and as using memories, and just for self to also understand what is in fact really happening, to assist and support self to realize that the whole point or event is not personal, but it's actually the being attempting to and trying to manipulate with memories, fight for their own survival of personality of mind consciousness system. Alright, let's have a look at the play out of how the manipulation entity of memory is created, designed, and manifested. So the family member or friend will target a specific part of self, like a part of self that fed a particular personality of that family or member or friend within the past. Then this part of self in relation to memories will be outlined, meaning this part of self is a part of self that the family member or friend reinterpreted or reperceived within themselves as how they've defined you as, and then that part is stored or categorized or organized within their personality database of mind consciousness system. So they've then interconnected that re-perceived, reinterpreted part of you towards you. So as long as you always remain the same in relation to how they've perceived or defined you, then their personality they've defined towards that part of you remain intact, and their world is safe and in order because their self-definition is being fed, being groomed, being validated. So that's why, in terms of, let's say, for example, that part of you has changed, obviously then a friction manifests within them, in their mind consciousness system in relation to that personality they've defined in relation to that part of you. And so they will attempt to try to get you back to that reinterpreted, re-perceived definition that they've defined you as, so that they can keep their personality of their mind consciousness system to continue surviving and existing. So then they'll start with, for example, this part of self that they have reinterpreted or re-perceived within themselves as how they've defined you as. They'll start outlining, like using statements of, do you remember how you were then, or how we did this together, how you were while we did this together, how you did this or that for me, who you were then, how you did this and how you did that. So basically starting with a point of you within themselves, they'll manipulate what you with as the point, as a part of self they've identified themselves with in relation to you. And even though that definition of you within them may be years ago, to them it still exists, because it exists within and as them as memory. Like that one part is manifested as memories within themselves that they have accumulated to revalidate that total personality part of themselves they have defined in accordance to that part of you. And due to them existing from the primary basis of and as memory, as the mind in itself, wherein memories within that are believed or perceived to be real, because the mind consciousness system is their reality. To beings existing within and of the mind in totality, the past is still existent, still real, because everything of them is from and of the past. So the past still exists as a reality that is real, and thus to them you're still the same, because their reference of you is in accordance to memories, is in accordance to how they reinterpreted or re-perceived you and thus defined you within themselves. And so that part of you is kept alive through memory, through past experiences within them, to continue their personality definition of and as mind that part or experience of you kept supporting within them. And as I explained a little bit earlier, when you start changing or acting within behavior in relation to them differently, your external manifestation of who you are is no more supporting or feeding or interconnecting resonantly within and as their memory database as personality definition they have of you, and this causes friction within and as their mind consciousness system. Because their memory database of a part of you feeding a personality of them is no more feeding or is no more being fed or supported. And this is when the fight for mind personality survival kicks in, and the manipulation fight with the arsenal of memory then ensues, because it's like an alarm goes off inside their mind consciousness system stating their personality is not being supported with the energy that was usually feeding it within this particular relationship they had with you as this part that they've defined you as. And that part you're no more enacting or living in thought, word, and deed, because you've changed. And thus, in terms of, instead of them supporting you as who you really are, which if the relationship was actually real, then would have been a point of support, now it transforms into a point of attack, because they want you to be the same as they want you to be, as the sameness they still believe you to be within as their memory. So basically attempting to, or trying to redefine you back into the memories that they have of you. And so they attempt to change you back to the memory they have of you, within attempting to break down the change you have become through holding their past memories of you within themselves, and then bringing up all the apparent mistakes you've made against them, apparently, as all the memories of past experiences that negate that one point of view that they've held onto within memory, that feed one of their personalities they have formed or created in relation to that one point or part of you. So in terms of, they'll, for example, start with, as I've said, outlining how they remember you as that part of you, and then to try and fight back or manipulate, they bring up all past mistakes, all past memories that they've also accumulated and held within themselves, and cross-reference you in relation to the memories they have of you, like saying, okay, do you remember this is how you were? I remember you like this. This is who you really are. But now look at all these things that you're doing and that you've done, and it's totally and completely the opposite to who you were. And this comparison that they do is the arsenal of memories of past mistakes that they then use to compare you to who you were and who you've become or who you are now. And then through that comparison of and as memories, they attempt to and try to manipulate back to who and how you were in relation to how they remember you and they want you to be, so that you can continue feeding their personality of who they are within and as the mind consciousness system. So what's fascinating within this is that they attempt to try to use memories against you, when in actual fact what manifests due to the inversion of process, as I mentioned before, is their own possession within and as the memories they attempt or try to use. And so they create an actual energetic entity of memories consisting of or existing as manipulation, thinking or believing that they're manipulating you, when in actual fact they're being manipulated by their own memories. So here to understand that it's not to take it personally when family or friends attempt this, especially within walking process. I mean, change is inevitable and is certain, because you're assisting and supporting you to in fact change. You're walking out of the mind consciousness system into the physical and establishing self for the first time in your life or your existence and your experience in this reality. You're finding out who you are. And within that, in terms of stopping participation in thoughts, stabilizing self here as breath, writing self out within, writing yourself to freedom, releasing, letting go, stopping, standing within and as self-forgiveness and self-corrective application. All the relationships you've had with your mind and thus with your reality, because all your relationships in your world and your reality is defined based on your relationship with the mind, because you've defined everything through and as your mind consciousness system. So as you emerge within your self-honesty here in the physical, within the principle of living here what's best for all, equal and one, your self relationship change, and thus the relationship with your total reality will start changing, because self is the core source or origin of what you experience internally and externally. And so here, it's just to understand, not to take it personally when family or friends attempt this. They become manipulative in an attempt to manipulate you to be who they remember you to be according to how they defined you within themselves, and stored you within an as memory. So the point of manipulation family members will attempt to try may be in some cases inevitable or certain, because their inherent nature is to, as a mind consciousness system, survive, and so will attempt or try to keep everything in their world and their reality the same in accordance to how they defined it through and as their mind consciousness system. So it's going to be an experience to stand through, but you have who you are here, you have your self-honesty, your breath, you have your writing, your self-forgiveness, your blogging to assist and support yourself to walk through this experience that one might face within one's world and one's reality, in terms of family and friends not understanding the self-change. So it's to understand that in terms of the you they refer to is not you at all. The you they have within them, as with everyone else in their world, is based on their own interpretation from within their own database of knowledge and information in relation to how they want you to be for purposes of their own personality designs. So it's simply not to participate or play the game in throwing the ball back, meaning understand if it's already gone so far where it's a point of manipulation, manipulative attack, like using memories as past mistakes or experiences that you've apparently done unto them, when they're showing you apparently how you've changed from that part of you that they've held on to within themselves. That indicate a total entity possession of an as memory. And to assist and support self to stand within and through that is to walk here, be here as breath, breathing. When you feel you fluctuate or you feel you're falling, you've got your writing as you're blogging to assist and support you to see the points where you're wavering and where you're falling, which should basically indicate which points you still define yourself as towards them, meaning what points haven't you yet stood as within yourself, within equality and oneness, as you here in and as stability, but are still accepting and allowing yourself to define parts of you towards others. So the points of manipulation they're using still getting to you, which means that you haven't yet specifically enough looked at that parts of you as personalities of the mind that you lived or existed as in relation to them. And so it becomes a point of assistance and support to see where you're still holding on to personality parts or points of and as the mind consciousness system that you define towards others in and as your world and your reality. Alright, so this a practical reality, physical mind interdimensional perspective in relation to the manifestation of using memories to manipulate in an attempt to keep one ensnared and enslaved into and as the mind consciousness system, and what this whole experience in fact really is, and thus to realize, see and understand that it's simply a fight for survival of personality of mind, and thus not real. What is real is living here as breath, in assisting and supporting oneself to walk out of the mind into the physical, so that we can start living a reality, being an expression that stand equal and one here as all, in fact, so that we as such living beings of actuality in reality can start changing this world into an experience where all is equal and one in fact. Thank you.